Hey everyone, and welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So, with Social Security reform talks finally heating up this year in 2023, it's very possible that recipients of Social Security could see an increase of $2,400 per year. This could happen very soon as by the end of this year. We'll just have to wait and see. There is that bill out there by Bernie Sanders, so we are going to be giving an update on that and why I think that this bill has a good chance or perhaps a not so good chance passing. Also, we have some other updates on beloved Senator Joe Manchin and why we may not be seeing this guy around anymore, at least pretty soon. So before we get into the updates for today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. So of course, this year, once again, we had the bill by Bernie Sanders and other lawmakers that would increase benefits for people on Social Security by $200 per month, which over a year would be $2,400. Now, not only would it do that immediately, but it would also raise the special minimum benefit for those on Social Security to 125% of the poverty line, so it would lift benefits in that way as well. It would also change the way in which the cost of living adjustments are calculated. So right now the COLAs are adjusted every year based on the CPIW. They would be changing that over to the CPIE if this bill passed. And over the years, the CPIE has been a little bit higher. So if they do change that over to the CPIE, that could be beneficial moving forward as far as the increases go. So this bill does a whole lot of things. Now, the way in which they are able to fund all these things, because you might be wondering, like, the trust fund is going insolvent in 2033, according to a lot of reports. So how exactly are we going to increase benefits by $200 per month? Wouldn't that make the trust fund go insolvent even sooner, maybe like within the next 5 years instead of 10 years? Well, the way they would do this, the way that Bernie Sanders wants to do this, is he wants to bring more money into the trust fund. And he would do that by raising taxes on wealthier individuals. So right now, if you are a worker, if you're an employee, you pay 6.2% of your paycheck every single week. Whenever you receive your paycheck, you pay the 6.2% on the first $160,200 that you earn. So if you earn $100,000 per year, you pay 6.2% of that $100,000 into the Social Security Trust Fund. So that's right around $6,200 that you're paying in if you're making $100,000 per year. If you make $160,200, you're also paying 6.2% of the full $160,200 this year to the Social Security Trust Fund. Now, let's say that you make $1 million. If you make $1 million, you pay 6.2% of your paycheck to the Social Security Trust Fund, but you only pay $160,200 of earnings towards Social Security. So $160,201 to $1 million on all those earnings, which is about $840,000. You're not paying any of that into the trust fund. So Bernie Sanders wants to make it so people who earn above $250,000 would once again have to pay into the Social Security Trust Fund. So once again, if you're an employee, you pay 6.2%. If you're self-employed, you pay 12.4%. And of course, your employer, if you're employed, will pay the other 6.2%. So that's basically how he's going to fund the program. Also, for people who earn above $250,000, for any capital gains that you make, say like in the stock market, you would have to pay Social Security payroll taxes on that as well. Right now, capital gains are excluded. Capital gains are excluded from the Social Security payroll tax, so you don't have to pay the 6.2 to 12.4% on dividends, capital gains, or anything like that. Bernie Sanders would make it so that income would also be included and would have to pay Social Security payroll taxes on, rather than just the federal income tax that amount is currently taxed on. Now, this bill is actually very popular. If you ask voters on both sides of the party, on both sides of the aisle, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, anyone, this is an extremely popular bill. Even though it's by a far left Democratic senator in Bernie Sanders, you would think something like that, a bill by Bernie Sanders, someone on the far left, probably wouldn't get a whole lot of support from Republicans. But if you look at polling, if you look at this poll by Data for Progress, you can see that people were asked, do you support or oppose the Social Security Expansion Act? And they clearly say here what the bill would do. So it says some members of Congress are proposing the Social Security Expansion Act. This bill would extend the solvency of Social Security for 75 years, meaning the program would have enough funds to fully pay out benefits through 2097. The bill would also increase benefits for all recipients by $2,400 per year. This would be paid for by increasing taxes on wealthy Americans. So it clearly states out what this bill would do. And here are the results up on the page here. So you can see you have the option of saying that you either strongly support the bill, you somewhat support it, you don't know, you somewhat oppose, or you strongly oppose. So out of all Republican voters, we can see that 30% strongly support it, 40% somewhat support it, 16% somewhat oppose, and 8% strongly oppose. So you can see out of Republican voters here that 70% of Republicans strongly support or somewhat support the Social Security Expansion Act. Out of Democrats, we can see that 55% of Democrats strongly support this bill, 30% somewhat support it. So out of the Democrats, 85% of Democrats either strongly support this bill or somewhat support this bill. So you can see this bill by Bernie Sanders, a far left Democrat, is gaining support from both sides of the aisle. But again, these are voters. These are voters, and voters, people like me and you, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a Republican, whether you're a third party and vote for, anyone that you just think will be best for office, we don't actually vote on these bills in Congress. We're not going to DC and voting on these. So even if we really, really like this bill, it's really out of our hands. It's the people that we're voting for. It's the senators, it's the House of Representatives who we are voting for every 2 years who are going to be voting on this bill. And right now, since this bill is going to fund these increases by raising taxes, we can look at one party who strongly opposes raising taxes, the Republicans, and that's exactly why, at least in my opinion, this bill just does not stand much of a chance of passing, at least in 2023. That's because the Republicans right now have control of the House. They have more seats in the House than the Democrats do. So in the House, if we don't have any Republicans getting on board with this bill, if they're all opposed to raising taxes to fund these Social Security increases, there's no chance of it to pass, even if every Democrat votes in favor of it, just because there are more Republicans than Democrats. Then in the Senate, we have 51 people who caucus with the Democratic Party, compared to the Republicans at 49. In the Senate, for a bill to pass, you have to have at least 60 seats. And right now, again, the Democrats only have 51 seats. And it's very rare to ever have 60 seats in the Senate. The last time that happened, I believe it was around 2009 through 2011 for a very short period of time under Barack Obama's regime. And that's how they were able to pass the Obamacare Act. And so just all in all, it's very rare for either the Republicans or the Democrats to have at least 60 seats in the Senate. So for any bill to pass, again, they would need to have 60 votes. And if they can't get any Republicans on board with this bill, again, this year they would need to have at least 9 Republicans to get the 60 votes, assuming that the other 51 lawmakers who caucus with the Democratic Party vote in favor of the bill, they won't be able to pass it. And we may actually see the Democrats lose even more seats coming up in 2024. That's because we have a lot of Democratic senators who are up for re-election where their spots are, very much in danger. And Joe Manchin is one of these people. So according to CNBC, West Virginia Governor Jim Justice kicks off campaign for Joe Manchin's pivotal Senate seat. So West Virginia Republican Governor Jim Justice announced his 2024 campaign for the U.S. Senate seat currently held by incumbent Democratic Senator Joe Manchin on Thursday. The long-anticipated move by Justice, who switched parties in 2017 and has since become one of the red state's most popular politicians, could further imperil Democrats' effort to keep their slim majority in the Senate. "I hate like crazy it's taken this long to make a decision," Justice said at a campaign kickoff event Thursday at the Greenbrier, his luxury hotel in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. The governor touted his conservative record on issues including abortion laws, the toughest of the toughest, and school choice. Manchin, one of the chamber's most conservative Democrats, has said he won't decide whether to run for re-election until closer to the end of the year, regardless of Justice's plans. His seat is considered one of the most winnable for Republicans in next year's election. Manchin said, quote, "I am laser focused on doing the job West Virginians elected me to do, lowering healthcare costs, protecting Social Security and Medicare, shoring up American energy security, and getting our fiscal house in order. But make no mistake, I will win any race that I enter," Manchin said. So obviously Manchin is very confident in winning his re-election. He has not yet announced whether or not he will run for re-election. I think that he probably will, even if he thinks that his seat might be in danger. But clearly here, he's pretty confident that he can beat anyone that he goes up against. But you can see here back in 2018, whenever he was running for Senate in West Virginia, he barely squeaked out a victory over Patrick Morrisey. He just won by around 19,000 votes. So it was very, very close in 2018. But Justice is obviously, a lot more popular in West Virginia. So it's going to be very tough for someone like Manchin to beat Justice in a very red state that is West Virginia. Because back in 2020, whenever Justice was, running for governor, he won his governorship race over the next person in Ben Salgano, and he received 63.5% of the vote. So obviously Justice is a lot more popular in West Virginia than Manchin is. So in my opinion, we're probably not going to be seeing Manchin around a whole lot longer. He's most likely done at the end of 2024. So if you're not a fan of Manchin, you probably won't be seeing him around too much longer. And you can see here in regards to polling, Manchin is also one of the most unpopular Democrats in his state. We can see here that right now 59% of West Virginians disapprove of the job that Manchin is doing. So clearly he's not very popular in West Virginia, but their governor in Jim Justice is very popular. So it looks like Jim Justice is most likely going to be the new senator of West Virginia, which means that we're going to see another seat for Republicans, which also means that if you're for this bill, this Social Security Expansion Act to increase benefits by $200 per month, that's going to give another seat for Republicans, which means that more than likely this bill is not going to pass. So who knows what's going to happen to Social Security? Are they going to continue to kick the can down the road for another 10 years until we reach that insolvency date and then try to piece something together at the last second? We'll just have to wait and see, but leave your thoughts in comments below on that. But that's all the news that I have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.